One way or another, I am getting through this video because I did not put my makeup on just to have a coughing fit. Hello, welcome to my channel Commas and Ampersands. My name is Sarah, and in this video I'm going to give you some tips on how to conquer your physical TBR. If you've stumbled across this video and you have no idea what I'm talking about, a TBR in the bookish community stands for to be read. When some people talk about TBRs, they mean every book that they want to read in their entire lives. But for the purpose of this video, I am talking about a physical TBR, so the amount of books that somebody actually owns and has not yet read but intends to read in the future. One of the things that's just kind of expected as part of the bookish community is that you are going to want to acquire a lot of books. And for many years there has been an emphasis on owning these books. Creating your own collection that looks something like the one from Beauty and the Beast, just an entire room covered in nothing but books. And yet, that is a pretty cool concept, and I spent many years buying into that and thinking that that's what I needed to have, not only as a bookworm, but just like to be happy, because it had been my dream for so long. And one thing that we all tend to ignore when building these collections is that you keep buying books because you want to read them, but you don't have the time to read them. And then there's new books that you want to read, and so you keep buying them. And eventually you have this huge collection of unread books that feels insurmountable. Having a huge collection of unread books can be inspiring to some people. For other people it can become this enormous pressure because you feel like you need to read all those books, and even if your tastes change, even if it's been years and you've decided you don't want to read that book anymore, sometimes you feel like you shouldn't get rid of it because you bought it. So you should be giving it a chance before you just throw it away. You don't want to admit that you've wasted money on something that is no longer interesting to you. Those are some of the things that we talk about regularly in the bookish community. And a few years ago I stopped seeing all those unread books as something amazing and inspirational and started just feeling trapped and overwhelmed by them. We tend to joke about like one day being crushed by our TBR piles or being buried under all of the unread books that we own. I actually had that dream, and I woke up, looked over at my TBR shelf and realized that it was not tethered to the wall at all, and because there were so many books on it, it had a pretty significant lean. And I was like, this could realistically happen. Like, this bookshelf could fall on me at any moment because there are too many books here and I haven't done anything about this. And I took my TBR from an entirely full Billy bookcase worth of books to nothing. I zeroed it out. And then I started up with a new TBR, which was all of the books that I had received from publishers while I had been working on that. And then I zeroed that out. And now I am free to pick up whatever book I want whenever I want. Which I will admit is its own kind of pressure because I have now spent so long having a set amount of books to choose from that having all of the choice in the world just, again, feels a little bit overwhelming, but it's overwhelming in a better way. I've been talking about tackling my TBR for ages, and I think a lot of people assumed that I was never going to do it, and then when I did it, everyone was like, how did you do this? This is absolute sorcery. It was not sorcery. It was a hell of a lot of hard work, and sometimes it wasn't fun. But because people keep asking me for specific concrete tips on how to go about reducing your TBR, I figured I would put this video together with some of my top tips, and hopefully that can help somebody out. Before I launch into the tips, let me first make a disclaimer. Just because all of these things worked for me doesn't mean that they are all going to work for you, so please don't put that pressure on yourself. There is no right or wrong way to read. There is no right or wrong way to tackle this. You don't have to reduce your TBR if you don't want to. Number one, separate your TBR books from the books that you have read. For some people that might mean going out and getting a TBR cart. For other people that might just mean doing a little bit of rearranging of the shelves. Yes, a TBR cart is super cute, but you don't have to spend money to make this work. This isn't about meeting that bookish aesthetic or anything like that. This is just so that you know what you're working with. Because chances are, if your books are all mixed in together, you are probably underestimating the amount of unread books that you actually own. So this is just about being super honest and figuring out what that TBR number is. Number two, go through each of the books. Read the blurb, look at the cover, see if it's still something that you're even interested in. If it's something that you collected years ago and you've realized that you're not into that genre anymore, or you don't like that author's writing style or something, it's okay to let that book go. Tackling your TBR is hard enough without knowing that there are books in there that you are absolutely going to dislike and feeling apprehensive about getting towards that book. Just let it go. You could donate the books to a local library or a local charity. You could sell them online through Facebook Marketplace or through a buy swap sell group. There are a lot of ways that you can take the books that you are no longer appreciating and give them to somebody else who will appreciate them. Number 3, determine a schedule and make it realistic. Look at the books that are left in your TBR and think realistically about how long it will take you to finish these books. This is one of the reasons I was so determined to get through my TBR, because I looked at the amount of books that I had and I went, this is 3 years of not reading any new releases, of not paying attention to anything that comes out, not rereading any favorites. This is just 3 years of hard work. And the idea of that absolutely sucked. So I wanted to get in there and get it done as soon as possible because I did not like that idea at all. Number 4, pick some of the books that you are least interested in and take some time to read the first chapters of each of those books. See if you are still interested after the first chapter or if something is just not working for you. This is something that I recommend you do on a regular basis because as you read your TBR, you may find that your tastes are changing and it's always good to clear out the shelves with those things in mind. For example, on my TBR, I had a huge amount of books in the young adult fantasy genre. And over the years, I realized I was gravitating more towards adult fantasy, and some of the tropes and writing styles that are prevalent in the YA genre no longer appeal to me as much as they used to. That's not something I would have expected because I thought that I was all YA all the time. And reading the first chapters every so often just made me realize there's something in here that's really not appealing to me. I can put that on the pile for donation. You don't have to get rid of the book straight away if you're unsure, but it may help you to weed out some of the things that you're not going to enjoy. Number 5, check some Goodreads reviews or ask for opinions from people you trust. You may find that you have very similar reading taste to somebody else in your personal life or somebody that you've met through Bookstagram or BookTube or the bookish community in general. And if you know that you guys have very similar tastes in books and they have read something on your TBR, ask them if they enjoyed it. If they know you well enough, ask them if they think you would enjoy it. Somebody who already has intimate knowledge of a book and who knows you personally and who knows your reading taste is going to be able to say, yeah, maybe give that one a miss, or I think you're absolutely going to love it, hold on to it for a little bit longer. Number 6, set yourself small goals. While it is great to separate your TBR so that you know exactly what you're looking at, it can also be really difficult to assess it as a whole and not get disappointed in yourself. Because you could read 5 books in a month and that could be a really great reading month for you. But if you then look at your TBR and you go, oh, I still have 295 books to go, that can be disheartening. So instead of looking at your TBR as one big lump, try and break it up into smaller, more manageable goals. Look at it and say, I want to finish all of the series on here that I've started. I want to finish all of the books that I got from subscription boxes. I want to finish all of the yellow books. I want to finish all of the hardbacks. Whatever it is, find that smaller section of books and make that your first goal. And then move on to the next one. Number 7, do not reward yourself with new books. I see what you're doing. Don't do that to yourself. It never ends well. You will be disappointed and any of the progress that you've made will feel like a wash. Number 8, try and pick up some of the oldest books on your TBR. This could be part of setting yourself smaller goals. This could be something that you just do every so often. But if you've had a book for a longer amount of time and you haven't read it, there's usually a reason for that. So pick some of those books out every so often. Maybe they're not as exciting as some of the newer releases, but just have a go and see if you still enjoy it. Read the first chapter, like I said before. Look at the reviews, look at the blurb. What is it about this book that has stopped you from reading it for so long? And if you still feel like you don't want to read it, maybe that's a sign that it needs to go. Number 9, don't be afraid to DNF books if you're not enjoying them. DNF meaning that you mark a book as did not finish. You stop reading partway through when you're really not enjoying it, you don't pick it up again, it's just done. That's it. For some people, like me, DNFing a book can feel like a really big deal and it feels a little bit like a failure. So you keep pushing yourself through a book that you're really not enjoying, it takes you forever, and whoops, now you're in a reading slump. Now you don't want to read anything, and it just puts this huge block on your desire to finish the rest of your TBR because you don't know whether or not that's going to happen again. In the last year of me reading my TBR, I finally just started DNFing books left and right. If I was not feeling it, that book was out of there. And it was so incredibly liberating to do that because there were a lot of books that would have put me in a reading slump. I possibly would have been working on my TBR for another 12 months. It just felt good to DNF them and to accept that that didn't make me a bad person. It didn't make me a bad reader. It just meant that I didn't enjoy every single book under the sun, and that's okay. Number 10, get comfortable with audiobooks and ebooks. If you haven't used audiobooks and ebooks before and you want to give them a go to try and help get through your TBR, then I recommend starting off with your library. See if your library has ebook versions of some of the books on your TBR so that you can carry them on your phone or on your e-reader or something like that, rather than carrying around a physical book. That's what I did for some of the really massive books on my TBR, and it helped me get through them so much easier because I wasn't sitting there going, I don't want to read this because it's going to make my bag really heavy. You don't need to subscribe to Audible straight away, especially if you're unsure whether or not you will actually like listening to audiobooks. But using audiobooks from your library, many of which you can download straight onto your phone or your device and have with you whenever you're walking to work, walking to school, doing the dishes, whatever menial tasks you're doing, you can listen to an audiobook in that time. And borrowing them from your library is a very low risk, low cost way of trying out a format and seeing whether or not you like it, because it could help you get through your TBR a little bit faster. And the last thing that I want to say isn't really a tip, it's more of an acknowledgement that I think more people need to make, which is that getting through your TBR is only a priority if you want it to be. If buying heaps of books and not reading them for years doesn't bother you and you're in a financial position to continue doing that, then by all means, go right ahead. If you have endless amounts of space in your house and you can just keep adding bookshelves as you purchase new books, keep doing it if it makes you happy. There is no rule saying that you have to read every single book you own. You don't even need to conquer your TBR by using these tips. It may just help you to refine it a little. And if that's all you're looking for, then that's great as well. But if you really want to conquer your TBR no matter what, then you just need to be honest with yourself about that and make that a priority. Nobody else can do that for you. Nobody else can force you to stay on that track. That's a decision that you have to make yourself. And just because I did it doesn't mean that you have to. So that's the last thing that's kind of on the list. And whether you want to conquer your TBR completely or whether you want to just shave a few books off the top, I hope that watching this video has helped you at least a tiny bit. If it has helped you, please let me know in the comments, because I am always going to cheer you on if you're trying to make some kind of positive change in your life, whatever that may be. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye!